And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. We are live now. It's Tuesday, the 7th day of June, 2022. This is the 6th month of the year, guys. We're almost halfway through 2022. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super excited to be with you today. Last week, I had some technical problems because I'm working out some kinks on a new platform. And so it didn't take my live feed. I posted it later. So I thought until I can get a little more technical assistance and figure out the other platform, we're going to hold what we got. So I am here. I hope that you are here. And if you are watching, whether you're watching the show live or the replay, as always, I ask if you will share the show with your audience. All right. There is a lot to get to on today's show, and a lot has happened since the last time we were together from last week. Or if you missed last week because of all the glitches, because of the technical challenges the week before. So first of all, I want to start with talking a little bit of tennis. We don't do that a whole lot, but I've got an affinity for tennis. So the French Open wrapped up over the weekend. The young American Coco Gauff reached the finals of the French Open at 18 years old. She had a good run, and she ran into the number one player in the world who just played lights out. And I was hoping Coco could, pull off the big upset, but so proud of her for making it to the finals, right? She is, I was talking to Zena, we watched some of the match together. And one of the things that's super exciting about Coco Gauff is that she's not going to quit. Like she's going to fight. She's going to fight to the very last point, and she's going to play. She's tough. I mean, I like everything about the way she approaches the game. Her future's bright. I look forward to seeing her play more and continue to see her grow. I think she will continue to get better. I think her ranking improved to like 13 in the world after reaching the finals. And so, congratulations, good for Coco, and much continued success. Right. One of the things that she said in one of her interviews, which was really telling to me, she talked about the expectations that were on her because of her previous run when she had that good run and she played well at the U.S. Open a few years ago, and just the way she started. And the reason that was brought a smile to my face because one of the things that we see with a lot of the young players, young American players, is that they don't handle the pressure, right? So you make a good run, you advance in a tournament. Now people are looking at you, right? There's an expectation that you're going to do this and better moving forward. And that's tough for some young players. And it's really difficult because many of them don't really acknowledge that pressure because that's what it is. It's pressure. It's the pressure of expectations. And if you don't say, hey, you know what, now people expect something, how do I manage that? You can't handle it. And so when I heard her say that, I was I was proud. I thought, you know what, she's doing something that many young players and even some who have been won some championships have not done. So I wanted to start off by just giving a shout out to Coco Gauff and her family. Her entire family was there. Her mom and dad are with her, but her brothers were there. I think they celebrated one of her brother's birthday over the weekend. So congratulations to Coco Gauff and the entire Gauff family. All right, so let's move on and let's talk a little baseball because it's that time of year. And I'm going to talk about the Houston Astros. Surprise, surprise, right? Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit of Astros, and then I'm going to let you hear from um, General Manager James Click, from Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, and of course, Manager Dusty Baker. So I'm going to start talking about Yordan Alvarez, who is playing just lights out, right? Yordan Alvarez received a contract extension from the Houston Astros, 6 years, $115 million. And there's some who say, well, that's a great deal for the Astros, but not so much for him because if he continues to play the way he's playing, when he would, if he had not signed the extension when he got to free agency, he could make more. All right. That's one way to look at it. But who knows? I mean, we look at the economy, there's so many uncertainties about what's happening. The taking the contract extension now, just it locks him in for the Astros. So they've got this amazing hitter who's turning into a pretty good fielder as well, locked in for the next 6 years. And then he didn't have to really worry about it. He's taken care of, his family's taken care of. And I just thought it was good for the entire, for both sides, right? I'm pulling this up because also, while the extension was announced last week, the Astros were on the road. We got a chance to talk to them all yesterday. But also on yesterday, Alvarez was named the American League Player of the Week. He led all Major League Baseball hitters in several categories, okay, for the week of May 30th through June 5th. So for the week, he hit 565. He went 13 of 23 with 4 home runs, 8 RBI. And in addition to the batting average, he also led the majors in slugging percentage with a 1.217 and an OPS of 1.847 for the week. So on the season, he's now hitting 295. This is for the entire season with 16 home runs, 34 RBI, and he currently ranks second in the American League in homers and third in OPS. So he becomes the second Astros player to earn Player of the Week honors in 2022, joining Bregman, who won the award in the season's first week, April 7th through 10th. So congratulations to Yordan Alvarez. I mean, he's been playing well all season, but what he did last week was just spectacular, right? So he has signed the contract extension. It was announced last week. And I'm trying to pull up the. It's 6 years, $115 million, right? And so he's 24 years old. He's been one of the top hitters in the majors since making his debut in 2019, and he's already won multiple awards, including being named the Baseball Writers Association American League Rookie of the Year and the MVP of the ALCS in 2021. He's one of several players to receive contract extensions from the Astros since 2018. But here's the deal: the Astros don't usually go with extend players quite this young, so they have extended Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, Yuli Gurriel, Martin Maldonado, Lance McCullers Jr., Ryan Presley, and Justin Verlander. So he joins a very elite group of people. So congratulations to Yordan Alvarez. I'm going to start with letting you hear from General Manager James Click. This is how he opened the news conference, really telling us why the Astros decided to go ahead and make this move now.
And all of us here at the Astros, I'm excited to announce our agreement with Yordan Alvarez on a contract extension. Yordan is one of the most complete hitters in the game of baseball. His combination of plate discipline, approach, power to all fields, and the ability to hit any pitch that is thrown to him make him an elite hitter at the plate. Early in his career, many talked about him as a designated hitter, but through his hard work and dedication, he has turned himself into a quality player in left field.
So, he said a lot more, but I thought that really kind of summed it up, right? And so he started as a DH, so we know he can hit, but he has continued to grow as a fielder. And he talked about yesterday how he wants to do more than just. I mean, he feels like he can do more than that, and that there's a lot of upside for him because he's still, as I mentioned, he's 24. He's still quite young. So one of the things I asked Yordan about was, he had injuries early on, and just coming back from the injury and how he has been able to recover from that, and what a difference it's made in his ability to perform the way he's performing. So this is Yordan. You hear a little bit of Yordan, and then you will hear his response through the translator.
Me tocó esperar y recuperarme, y creo que ese año pude ver a los muchachos llegar a los playoffs. Nada, me tocó verlo desde la casa, pero bueno, a la gracia de Dios, el año siguiente me recuperé y estamos aquí.
Yeah, there are a lot of negative thoughts that went through my mind at the moment, especially when I got injured. But after, when I went to speak to the doctor before I had the surgery, I asked him what the possibility of me not feeling pain in my knees were, and he assured me that there was a 99% chance that I wouldn't feel pain again. And then that's when I decided to go ahead with the surgery. And then after that, I was kind of just waiting. Thankfully, was able to see my teammates go on to the playoffs and play ahead, but just had to wait and then just come back next year and feel super grateful.
So, you know, to have knee surgeries at such a young age, and he's a big guy in terms of he's tall. I mean, he's not a super heavy guy. He's quite um, a physical athlete, right? But to have to worry about that and to have those injuries early and to be able to come back and as he said, be pain free, right? To be able to be pain free and be able to compete at a level that he knew he was capable of doing is refreshing, and then to be rewarded for that, right? He also talked about he was asked about he didn't just start with this. He was asked about being a Cuban player and just some of the sacrifices and some of the difficulties. And I'll let you hear from that a little bit later. More from that on him, maybe later in today's show or on my platforms later. But I wanted you to hear a little bit from Yordan Alvarez. I also want to switch gears a little bit because I did talk to Jose Altuve and Dusty Baker about the offense, right? Because although the Astros lost last night to Seattle, all right, they are still they're 35-20. They're in first place in the American League West, and they have an 8.5 game lead over the Angels. The Angels are in second place in the AL West. And I've heard some of the concerns and some of the arguments that the Astros hitting is not they can't they're not going to be able to get to the World Series with this offense, right? So first of all, I say to that it's really early. And the offense is different because they've got some different dynamics, right? They've got some different pieces. And also there's a couple guys in the lineup that are just hitting way below what you need them to do. And one of them is Alex Bregman. I think he's hitting now about 225. He is a career 276, 277 hitter. I think when he was in the conversation for MVP, he was hitting about 295. They don't need him to hit 295. But the Astros need Breggs to at least get to about 260-ish. 270 would be great. 275, right? To get to his average. Definitely 270, 275. They need him to hit better, right? To produce more. And I think he can. If he's healthy, I expect that we'll see Breggs get back to that place, right? They need him to do that. Yuli Gurriel is also hitting way below his career average. So they've got some people in the lineup that you'll hopefully start to see hitting a little better. And I talked to Jose Altuve about that yesterday. Of course, he talked about, a lot of the guys were in the press conference for Yordan Alvarez, just to support him. And afterwards, we got a chance to talk to a couple of them and a few of them in the clubhouse as usual before the game. And so after we talked about Yordan Alvarez, I asked Jose about the offense and, if he was concerned about the offense. But no, that's not what I want to do. So I want to show you or let you hear from Jose Altuve on his thoughts about the offense. So here's Jose yesterday.
And that's what we all care about. In the end, we're trying to win. We're trying to go or be concerned a lot about some things. There's a lot of games left, and I see guys here playing really good second half among last month. And we're just focusing on tonight's game. We're in the first place. We got to do everything possible to stay there because we have really good teams behind us. And I think just that.
What do you say about the fact that your offense is just coming from different places than it came from in the previous years? And that may be what people aren't used to.
Yeah, I think that means we are just finding ways to win games. You said it, it seems like every day is a new guy doing something. Obviously, Jordan this last week was really good, and he helped us to win a lot of games. But if you see around, Chas McCormick, Jose Siri are helping us to win games. Aledmith Diaz is playing good. So it seems like everybody is very important to win games in the daily basis.
So that was Jose Altuve before yesterday's game, and of course I did mention that the Astros lost that game to the Seattle Mariners. And here's the other thing: I hear this criticism too. I'm just not as worried yet, right? We're not even at the All Star break. That while they had this great run in May, and we talk about this great record they had in May, that they've lost some games to teams that aren't 500. But again, if they had lost, I mean, that they are beating teams that are not that have losing records. But for the most part, they're beating those teams, right? So I am looking at the fact that they're still 8.5 games up, and they won't be 8.5 games up for the entire season. But I think it's too early to panic. I think there's still an opportunity. They could make a deal because they're a little crowded at spring at center field. Maybe they make a deal and try to get another bat in the lineup that is going to produce more offensively. I just think there's time, and I just think it's too early to panic. So I'm not real concerned. I also had a chance yesterday to talk to Dusty Baker, and I talked to Dusty about the same thing. And I remember before the season started, I remember Dusty talking about, because of the shortened spring, because of the strike, everything was pushed back, that they had to make a decision. Was it to get guys in good shape so that they would stay, so they could, pretty much stay injury free as much as possible? I mean, you're not going to go through a season and not have some people injured, which would mean if they worked on conditioning, then there would be fewer at bats, right? So what do you work on? What's most important? And so I remember that conversation with Dusty before the season started. So yesterday, I talked to him before the game as well because I wanted to know Dusty's thought about the offense. So let me see. I'm going to pull the right clip. This is it. So here's Dusty Baker before yesterday's game, chatting with
Everybody
me.
wants you to win perfectly. Or do you lose ugly? Or do you win pretty? No, lose ugly. I mean, win, lose pretty. There's no such thing. And, I said when the season started, offensively, the hitters are hurt more than the pitchers are hurt by the lockout. And nobody, you see that the whole baseball world is behind on the offense. And the baseball world, I notice the scoreboard every day, out there on the scoreboard, and teams are now starting to score runs. It's about that time. It's about the 200 at that time. It's getting hot. Earlier it was cold all over the country. And, it's about that time. So I'm very pleased with where we are with the offensive production that we've gotten out of certain guys. And, sooner or later, everybody asks me, oh, you guys clicking on all cylinders. We're using about 3 or 4 of them, but 3 or 4 at a different time all the time. So, I think our future is very, very bright offensively. And we're lucky that our pitching has been so good to carry us to it's a team thing. It's not a hitting thing or a pitching thing. You lose as a team and you win as a team no matter how you get the job done.
So that was Dusty before yesterday's game. And, like you said, it's not it's a good thing that so far the pitching has been good until maybe the hitting gets to a place where we're like, okay, this is the kind of hitting it's going to take to get to the World Series. That's their goal, right? That's always their goal. It's definitely their goal again this year. And so I just think it's a little early. We're not even at the All-Star break yet. And I think that there's still an opportunity for the Astros to make a move. They have been known to do that before, even if it's as late as right up to the deadline. So I am still very optimistic about this Houston Astros team. When I mentioned, so now Bregman his average has actually dropped to 217. And Yuli is hitting 221. So, those are some places that we could see some changes and improvement where, they could make a deal. I mean, they could make a move, and in terms of improving, I mean, they're not going to move Bregman or Yuli, but they could make a move offensively if those guys, when those guys, bats get to being a little more productive. But again, it's still early and we have time to see what's going to happen. We're going to move over and talk about the NBA Finals because Game 3 is tonight. That series, now Game 3 is tomorrow night. That series is tied 1 game apiece, the Warriors and the Celtics. Of course, the Celtics, I would say, surprised and shocked not only the Warriors, but fans by going into Golden State and winning Game 1. Of course, the Warriors bounced back and won Game 2. No big surprise there. I expect the Warriors to win this series. And I've heard some people say it's going to depend on what, Klay Thompson does. And I'm not so convinced. I think they're going to have to figure out, and Steve Kerr is definitely the guy who can do it, how to manage Klay Thompson's minutes. But I don't know that he's the key for them winning this championship, winning another championship. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a great series. But in the end, I do pick the Warriors to come out on top. I just hope that they're good games the rest of the way. And, ultimately, it would be great for it to get to a Game 7 and go down to the final moments. I mean, that's what you want to see in a championship. So, we'll see. And I look forward to Game 3 tomorrow night. The Astros are back in action. Speaking of baseball real quickly, they're hosting the Mariners again today, and then tomorrow they have a day off on Thursday, I believe, and then they get back in action this weekend hosting the Miami Marlins. So a little bit of basketball news for you. In football, the Houston Texans are wrapping up OTAs this week. Next week is mandatory minicamp, and we will get a chance to see really everybody, because it's not voluntary, it's mandatory. So I'm guessing we'll see Laramie Tunzel next week. There's no reason he shouldn't be there. He's signed and under contract and, by all accounts, healthy and ready. So minicamp starts, it will be next week. Mandatory minicamp. Then they get time off before they hit it hard for training camp late July and on through the season. So football season is here, guys. What we're waiting for is the championship in the NBA, and then, of course, the NBA draft, which is if you're a Houston Rockets fan, you're looking forward to that, to see what they end up with, to see what they do. So that's coming up on June the 23rd. And not as much about what they do in the draft. I think it's basically 3 top players. The Rockets have the number 3 pick. I think they take whoever's left because the gap between the top 3 and the rest of the players in the lottery is somewhat significant. I think what people are waiting to see is what they do with Christian Wood. If they're able to move him before the draft, I think that's the ideal move for them, is to move him before the draft. And then also what they're able to do with John Wall, right? Because to get John Wall dealt, they'll probably have to work out with some of the team, pick up some of his salary because he's got a huge deal. But they can't go into next season with John Wall on the book still and him not playing and him counting so much against the cap and him making $44 million. So those are some things that I'm looking for this offseason from those Houston Rockets. All right. So I'll let you know if I hear anything before the draft, definitely draft day and beyond. But it is that time of year where there's just so much happening. We had tennis, right? We've got baseball, we've got football, we've got basketball. But on yesterday, I had an opportunity to co-host a rally in downtown Houston, actually at the Toyota Center, a rally to bring for Brittany Griner, the basketball player from Houston, the WNBA player who has been held in a Russian jail cell for 100 days now. And Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee put together this event. The mayor was there, Commissioner Ellis was there. There were other city council members and state representatives, members of the community. It was a pretty big gathering. Some of the Rockets staff was there. Coach Silas was there, the Rockets organization, and some former WNBA players. Cheryl Swoops was there, Monica Lamb, Ty Dillard. There was a huge support. There were videos from the WNBA commissioner, from the WNBA Players Association. There was even a video from the State Department. So there was a lot of support, and it was all about keeping the conversation moving forward, um, sending a message to Washington, sending a message to say, bring Brittany home. Also, Paul Whelan and the others who are being held in captivity. The State Department came out maybe a few weeks ago, maybe it's been a month, I'm not sure how long, to say that she's being held unjustly. And so this was about rallying the community, sending a message to Washington that says whatever it takes to bring home these American citizens. And if it means you've got to make a trade, then do that. When I say a trade, I mean if you got to swap somebody that they have, that the Russians want, do whatever it takes. And so it was a pretty impressive group of people, and there was a lot of energy. There was a petition. I'll put the link on my pages later where you can click if you want to sign a petition, and to encourage them to bring Brittany home. And one of the things that was really quite impressive was that Trevor Reed, who the Marine, the veteran, who was held captive and was released, maybe it's been about 6 weeks ago that he's been home. He lives up near Fort Worth, but he and his family were at this rally yesterday, and he spoke. And I'm gonna let you hear just a little bit from him, but he shared a lot, right? And he said, and the Congresswoman said, when he heard about the rally, he wanted to come. He wanted to be there. He wanted to be there to say thanks for the support that he'd received. His family wanted to see there, his mom and dad, and he also wanted to encourage to encourage everybody to keep on supporting and praying for Brittany and Paul and all of the other Americans who are being held captive. And so he shared a bit about his experience. And so I want to let you hear from Trevor Reed. This is Trevor yesterday at the rally for Brittany Reed right in front of the Toyota Center.
Is probably in a lot of ways in a worse position than I was, because Brittany is African American. There's a large portion of the population in Russia which is racist. They also have a government that systematically discriminates against lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transsexual people under Vladimir Putin. And, those things obviously are going to make Brittany's time there a lot more difficult than, if they had just taken another American hostage.
Some of the other things that he talked about, the conditions. He said that he had COVID multiple times. He said he lost 45 pounds because of due to malnutrition. The environment of the cell, the conditions, he called them medieval. He said that the food, sometimes they may get, like rotten fish, and that the cabbage was always rotten, and that there really is no health care. He said he was deformed on his right side because of a rib fracture or a collapsed rib or something with his rib. I don't want to misquote him, but that's a ongoing issue he has. And he just talked about a number of health issues and concerns that he had. And so he said, you heard him say there, he said, and although it was difficult for him, it's probably tougher for her because she's a woman, she's African American, and because she's lesbian, and that there's a huge portion, he said, of the Russian community that is, they says racist, and there's a lot of discrimination. So, it was hearing him talk about it, and I heard his story, but hearing him talk about it again, and just some of the conditions and things that he lived with and dealt with are really heartbreaking. And so, if you have a minute, there's listen, I'm always encouraging the Chalk Talk audience to call your elected officials. Let them hear from you. There's so much that we have going on that we need to petition them for, right? So it's Brittany Griner. It's gun violence, right? Because the gun violence situation is out of control. It's voting rights, okay? It's Roe versus Wade, because even though we know that from the leak that it seems the Supreme Court is going to overturn Roe versus Wade, Congress could codify it, and what that means is it could pass something through the Senate that would codify it as a law, and Roe v. Wade could still be the law of the land. But here's the thing: nothing's going to happen if we don't pressure people, if we don't pressure our elected officials, the people who are put in office to serve us. And that's what I just want to always encourage you to do. Make sure you're registered to vote. You know my mantra. If you're registered, get somebody else registered. And then let your elected officials hear from you. It doesn't matter if you voted for them, it doesn't matter what party they're in. They are still elected to serve all of us. And if we don't let them hear from us on a regular occasion, then they can kind of sit back and think, well, yeah, I don't really have to pay attention because I can just serve this one group or these people or my own personal interest. That is not how it is designed to work. And so we're going to shift the momentum. We've got to take the momentum, right? All of the people who are protesting and talking, that's awesome. We've got to take that and put it into action, right? Put it into action. You know, yesterday at the Brittany Griner rally, a few members from George Floyd's family were there, and they said they were, you know, in their T-shirts they had made talking about supporting Brittany Griner, and they said, listen, if those of you who marched in the streets about George Floyd, take that same energy and send it to supporting Brittany Griner, and whatever the other things are that are important that we feel like we need to have happen. We've got to listen. We know that our voices matter, and we've got to use them. So I want to leave you with that. I also want to say this: hey guys, COVID, it is still alive and well. All right, it's picking up steam kind of quietly. So if you are not vaccinated, get vaccinated. I know people who are vaccinated and boosted who have gotten COVID, but at least their symptoms are milder. They're not being hospitalized and near death door. So I'm encouraging you to get vaccinated, to get boosted, and to continue when you're in these crowded spaces indoors to wear your mask. So when y'all see me in the grocery store, inside places, and I have my mask on, you can look at me crazy because that's how I roll. All right. Hey, listen, as always, thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk, being a part of the audience. I appreciate you. And I encourage you to share this broadcast with your community. I am also going to post a couple questions because I'm thinking about moving Chalk Talk, the live version, to the afternoon, right? Early evening. And I would love to know your thought about it, right? Because I know many of you end up watching the replay, which is awesome. As long as you watch it, that's great. But I'm wondering if I moved it later in the day, if that'd be better for some of you who are at work and you're not able to really have the engagement live. So let me know what you think. Drop in the chat, send a note. You can always email me. I would love to. Thank you. You guys are very kind. I appreciate it. I love you guys too. I'd love to know what you think, right? And what your thoughts are about some things for Chalk Talk. Remember, if there's somebody you'd like for me to talk to, or interview, or get on the show, let me hear from you. And I have another announcement. I am also going to be launching an additional show called Candid Conversations. And so I'll tell you more about that. That'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. But stay tuned. Stay tuned. A lot's going on. And listen, I appreciate you guys. All right. So until next week, remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. Make it a great week, everybody.